The Vue meetup currently is sponsored by Galvanize for the space. We are currently in the market for sponsors otherwise for like food and beer. Currently I paid for it, so my Venmo is over there if you feel like costing me a few bucks. But I hope you all enjoyed it. No pressure at all. Also, next month, obviously December, and technically this would fall on Christmas. I was kind of thinking we could have a happy hour and be a little more social next month. So keep an eye out on meetup.com and that so that we can all just hang out and have a good time. For Vue news, VueConf in the US was announced. It's in New Orleans. So something to keep an eye out if you have the means to go. I know CJ is going to be there. And I think he's even submitted for a talk. So looks like it's going to be tons of fun. And then the other bit of news is the state of Vue.js was released. I don't know if anyone in here take a look at this.
Was this very recent? It was like a month ago.
It was a month-ish ago. Yeah, it's been out for a little bit. It's basically like, what's the future of Vue? Some talk about all companies that have moved to Vue and how they've been working with Vue and stuff like that. Interesting read, and there's a summary version for those of you who are into an 80-page document on Montreal. So maybe worth checking at least the summary out. And then I've got some other interesting things like Vue School, a whole site dedicated to teaching Vue is going to be, they've got their like pre-sale going on right now at a discount, pretty steep discount too. I think from the end of today. But some Vue love out there. And some interesting articles on companies that switched to Vue, like GitLab's been on Vue for a year now. Sorry, no warning.
No, it's fine. So I run 3 meetups. We're going to actually do events in December, so it's really hard to promote events and have people show up in December. So we're doing a Thunderclap for Denver Vue Tech. So we do 3 to 5 tech pitches a month, and then a panel discussion. So this month we're going to be talking about the ethics in Npm. Great place to job hunt. Lots of companies stand up and say what they're looking for. Who's looking and who's hiring segment along with looking to get your speaking skills up. Denver Vue Tech's 3rd Thursday. 2nd Thursday, we do the camp. So the camp is help entrepreneurs, developers improve their presentation. So we do 40 minutes on how to design, build, and present, and then break into groups and side-by-side feedback if you have something to practice. So you want to have conferences, fly you around the world so that you can go stay in a free hotel and give one speech, hang out there for a week. Learning how to present better is a really good skill to have. And then that's 2nd Thursday. And then before that, we're doing a GraphQL meetup. So you want to learn a really flexible middleware layer for your tab that works well with Vue. Come check us out. This month, we're going to have little lines with it's either the GraphQL integration with WordPress or the Grand Stack, which is GraphQL, React, Apollo, and Neo4j graph database. So really good way to build social networks or recommendation engines work really fast for large groups. I'll post links to all of them in the comments. We're also doing Thunderclaps for Vue Tech and HitchCamp. So if you you go to new.ch/thundercloud. That'll get you to a page where you can share your Twitter account, send out one tweet. We'll use that as a promotional thing. And then we have one for pitchcamp.mt/thundercloud. I'll write them on the board so get to them after. Let me know if you help with any presentations. We have a Slack channel for PitchCamp, so we're always helping people with their presentation. Help you with your designs. We'll comment on your presentation. Okay.
Thanks. Any other announcements? All right. Let's see. Hands, is anybody hiring?
Looking for a co-founder? So Mentor Matter is a platform to facilitate mentorship via live streaming video. Building our platform on GrandStack, the new version of the GrandStack. Yeah, we're trying to use computer vision, natural language processing, and machine learning to make the process of finding and talking to mentors very interested in education space. Yeah, not developer related, but we are hiring for our team.
What's the company?
Audible.
No, shit. Yeah, it's.
Oh, really?
Anybody looking for jobs? We've got some talent in the room. So, all right, well, cool. So that's really all I have. It's not a ton, I know. We will start the talk here soon. Thank you, guys.
Are you guys?
Yeah,
Question.
Oh, yeah.
So you were Killian and John and all those guys? Yeah. Probably. Yeah, they just started that. I started. They had Killian and PJ and I also at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But you started at the office.
Yeah, I started the day before TJ's. I started the day before Killian. I did like a bunch of QA automation stuff, which just like went nowhere. So they had been kind of tossing that down.
So I don't have a comment here. What do you teach?
Yeah.
I'm in the web development immersive course. So I teach full stack web development. Is there an area that you can focus on, or you're just going to help out all this? Well, they kind of do like a focus on back end based on. I'm not sure that's well, so we try to spiral as much as possible. So we rarely will go into like, this is right. Okay. I just went through what we might consider
And then there's
I chose to use
okay. Yeah, we had those especially in
but still an application because you still have to write JavaScript for it when you're making it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So really, for the program,
It's like
work like you're writing an instructor for the whole stakeholder. Speaking, we have a lead instructor, and then I have like a resident. So a resident is a student who. I would keep them on to sort of be close to the students, but still use decent material. sort of, they serve a lot of purposes to sort of help out. And then we also have rotating speakers that are all so in matters they stay with us, but there's other drummers too that they'll see it.
Okay. For some reason, I was under the impression that they switched out during the different segments.
Oh yeah, there's some other folks that do where an entire group will switch over to like a different.
Okay.
We're really trying to move towards. I love hundreds. Like instead of just saying like you're in this class, you're just.
Oh, so no more like. Because it's simultaneous like when
we're quite far away from that.
That's what it's moving.
That's a vision that at least I have. I really want to make it so that someone in Golden Triangle location or in one of these other classrooms that can't talk to them.
Oh yeah.
Or can like right now a lot of them don't like open to it because they don't because I spend a lot of time.
But
okay, I see.
the idea
I really want to be able to like, help more people and then like also community will try to help
Seems like it's really hard to make.
yeah.
It's there's a lot of experiments that you can do. Like I don't know, I really feel that in this location we can help drive the field of education.
Yeah.
A lot more than I can publicly fund it. I can do some really interesting things here that really just sort of share over the top. Use the data science is a completely different style of imagine. I mean, first of all, yeah, they're on the third cover what segment.
I started learning how to code.
Okay, and you're already done? You're already done?
I finished
You're working the same way a lot of people.
Okay, so I was
we had to like really
you have to pick one that you have specialized in?
specialized.
Okay.
People that react.
So like normally I would say with that one it's like
I might actually be thinking about it. How long have you been working with Vue?
So I've been maybe like a couple months ago.
They're pretty dynamic. Are they live? Okay.
So I can show you my capstone.
It's sort of a weird short for so being back at college and
It's only 2 years now. This is the Watson Phone Analyzer to do
Yeah.
Like, any sentence that tells you like, oh, 95%, and then based on that, it draws like a. So that will just give you a sense of what, so just give you a random example.
I was just doing it for like a pharmacy meeting that I did that way, and now like a year, and I realized. So lots of other skills, getting them back up. It's hard for people to trust me recently, so I tips a lot. That's kind of what I do, sort of. Like I automate current processes that I do. Like you pick the colors, or no, I create it because there's too much better.
It will decide like so if works so that application like just very orange, it's not always the
It doesn't work that way.
That's not
You can account it once.
You said you have
Oh yeah, the other one.
Most of the impressive work that I've done has been under things called Cabell arrangements, which sucks because what that is, it's like very sensitive litigation-based information, so I'm not allowed to talk about it.
For the screen, it's just
Yeah, so I'm using that's the microphone. I already have a splitter, so I'll have your. So if you plug in a return, you should see your logo right there.
okay.
That one takes a little bit.
I just want to make sure that everything's set up. Let me.
Yeah, that is
We could try.
I will just focus on the yes.
Good having
Everything else will fall into play. That's pretty much all you're doing is writing.
No, I do. I understand that. I understand what you're saying. But I do.
scroll bars.
Cool.
Yep, so this is simulate going on. Very quick, like Marlena was audible, so you don't need like your out and yell.
Okay, it's just normal monotone.
Talk to that.
Oh, that's why. Oh.
This one's right.
Yeah.
If you want the break.
So we'll get started here pretty soon. A few people out in the hallway.
All right.
So what
I'll
did
pick
you,
one.
what did you choose?
Just add it to the access. And then you do if you want to be.
Yeah.
All right. Matt is going to lead us through Vue progressive web app.
Well, yeah, so my goal was to have you guys follow along if you want to kind of get basically just a starter kind of like progressive web app hooked up to Firebase. If you are going to follow along and you don't have a Firebase account, just go on and create one. It's free. It's just full Firebase. We'll go from there to create a whole project and get gigs and everything set up. But yeah, so kick this off and keep rolling. So I kind of already did an intro earlier, so I'll make this quick. I'm a full stack developer in Mononville, which is a branding agency down in Cherry Creek. We have clients that we do branding for and then also provide a asset management software to them. So what that means is after we do branding, they have all these assets, logos, brochures, PowerPoints, and stuff that they want to keep consistent throughout their company. Allow them to do that by logging into our software. Download any of these assets that they
some things that I like, JavaScript, Vue, REST. Been using Vue for a while. Really started focusing more on JavaScript now, and partially because I come from a PHP backend experience. So we're and currently we're using them with which basically just creates routes, serve up JSON front end. Currently, our work, we're converting our software to a Vue front end with a slim PHP backend like that. Past work, lots of WordPress and front end development. I didn't really start jumping into backend development specifically until about 2 years ago when I started working with Laravel and then kind of got introduced. Yeah, so what we'll be learning today is basically a high-level overview of what a progressive web app is, how to set up Firebase and kind of get it connected to your app, the ins and outs of Vue and VueFire, and what comes with the Vue PWA template, and then kind of to add a little bit of extra, which pairs well with a PWA since it's very kind of like app and mobile focused, is we'll be using ngrok, which is kind of like a tunneling your local host, so that you could download or have the app running on your device. If you wanted to kind of test it on your hardware rather than like a simulator. I'll be using a simulator to show it, but if you wanted to do it on your phone, you're then able to do that. So, what is a PWA or progressive web app? Progressive. But what does that really mean? I mean, it's always great when someone defines something using the word in the definition. So a progressive basically is referring to progressive enhancement, which is a really great way to build things nowadays because technology changes so quickly. In the past, you might have been building something that had limitations because you were a legacy browser like IE 10. So a lot of the more modern features you wouldn't be able to use. With progressive enhancement, it's kind of the opposite idea where you're going to say, well, we're going to use the latest and greatest stuff, but then we're going to kind of like gracefully like handle the browsers that don't allow for these technologies and provide a great user experience while still not giving them the latest and greatest stuff. It's responsive, which means it's going to look great on all our screen sizes, especially on mobile. Statistics show that almost most traffic is coming from the mobile web nowadays, so not having a responsive website really hurts you. It works offline, and this is kind of one of the biggest things that draw people to progressive web apps. And this comes from what's known as Serviceworker, which we'll learn a little bit about today. So what happens is if you have spotty Wi-Fi or signal or you're on subway or something like that, you'll still be able to view the app on whatever device you're on, just because it's going to be cached in a certain way that it's going to be able to show that you're can view the app and interact with it. It's app-like, and what that means is you can download the app to your phone, not necessarily like you would with like a native app through the App Store, but you can save it to like your home screen and then open it on your phone. It's going to look and feel native to the device. It's not going to, showing a browser and like the URL bar and like the back and forward buttons. It's going to look and feel like it's downloaded from the App Store. And with that, you get kind of like fresh updates. So since you're not downloading this from the App Store, you can, every time there's a code push or a release, your app will pull that down automatically. There's no need to go and like update to it. It just happens. And with that, you also have fresh data. And that's part of the reason why Firebase pairs so well with a progressive web app, is because it's a real-time database. So when someone posts data to the database, you don't have to reload your page or your app. It'll just show up automatically. You'll see that happen when we start coding. It's safe, so it's served over SSL. You have an encryption going on, so your data is not at risk of being hacked. It's discoverable, so if someone was to search and find your app on Google, you're going to have nice metadata within your app to show like rich snippets and give people a very clear idea of what your app is all about. Re-engageable. This is kind of referring to more modern technology, like using push notifications. You can now do that with HTML5, which you weren't able to do before. So that allows you to kind of like get those notifications on your phone and know that there's something going on within your app to draw people back in. Durable, and this is referring to your data. So when you're working, say your app is offline, someone posts data, it doesn't get lost. It gets stored into, maybe some of you have used like local storage or session storage in the past. This kind of goes one better. It uses an in-browser database like IndexedDB, CouchDB, to kind of hold that data until you're online again, able to sync it up with your pull down the loop. Linkable, which is basically if you share a link to someone, it's going to open the app right to that page. They're going to see exactly what you want them to see. They don't have to, go in and search for it. And you've probably seen this a lot where you kind of, if you're on the web and you open an app, like go to a URL and it opens the app on your phone, kind of the same. So I'm going to do just like a quick demo of kind of this is just a side project that I built, progressive web app. It's basically a cookbook that I built for my family because we're all really big into food and have a lot of like family recipes. So this is a way for us to kind of like share them and also for me to learn how to work with this new technology. So you can kind of see it almost looks and feels like an app. It scales really well, and you kind of have that whole sidebar navigation. It's also being served over SSL. That's kind of one of the other perks of if you're hosting on Firebase, that just kind of comes with it. You get really quick data that comes in. If I was to post a new recipe, it would show up on this recipe page like automatically. I wouldn't have to reload the page. So you're getting fresh data. Every time I push code to this website, it gets synced to people's phones automatically. And then just to kind of do a quick offline demo. If I click offline here, I can reload the app. Everything still seems to be working. I can navigate basically all the routes. If I do a hard refresh, clear my cache, I'll also show, this we'll use later if you guys want to install it now. This is used for tunneling your local computer. You can run this command, but I would do it globally, so I add a -G. You guys want to install that as well while we're. I'm going to fire up the app by running npm run dev. Sweet. So kind of see everything's working up to this point. I'm going to give a quick demo again to show if I go offline, since I'm running this development, it doesn't build your service worker, which is a great thing because you don't want everything to start getting cached as you're building because it won't be updates quite as quickly. You're always cache busting, stuff like that. So until you run this for production, you kind of have just like kind of the normal like Vue work instance that you're probably fired up a project. I'm gonna now open up my code editor. We're gonna do just a quick run through of like a little bit of what's different when you use the PWA template versus like the Webpack template that comes with CLI. One of the things that you'll notice is in the static folder, it comes pre-built with this kind of manifest JSON file. And this kind of gives you that, which is great, that app-like experience when people download or save your website to their phone. It'll tell them like, this is basically what the icon will be within the home screen for browsers, where your start URL is, and kind of like where the app will be when you save the app here. It also comes with a lot of icons installed, so if you wanted to change these, go in here, change them to whatever icon you wanted. Notice in the font a little bit. Oh yeah. Is that better? Okay. So this is the index HTML, and you can see there's a lot of like Webpack markup in here. One of the things to notice is it's pulling in that manifest JSON file for you already. And then just kind of like initializing the app for Webpack, so when you build it, it'll connect all the scripts and stuff that you want. Okay, so from here we'll start to kind of like install and import our dependencies for VueFire and Firebase, which we'll be working primarily a little bit in this main.js file, but then we're also going to be basically just modifying this hello component. We start showing our Firebase connection and persist up to the date. But before we write any code, we need to install more dependencies. So I'm going to npm install VueFire and Fire and a JSON file. So in here, we now need to, I'm just going to import VueFire. Fire. Down here, we're going to use what this is doing is basically just, it's going to give us a Firebase object and Firebase binding within our app and within our. And you'll see that later on where we'll be able to have this Firebase kind of like object or components. But for right now, we're not going to use that here. We'll use that within our hello component. So this is something that I like to do, and it's kind of a preference. Within my source directory, I'm going to create a new folder called Serve. This is just where I'm going to kind of create that Firebase connection. I'll hold my configurations here as well. And I'm going to create my configurations outside of, so I'll be creating 2 files, one for the Firebase initialization and one for the configuration. The reason I'm going to do this is so that if I wanted to share this project on GitHub, I can, ignore the Firebase and people won't pull that down and be able to like start posting a bunch of stuff to my connection on my Firebase install in the database. And it also makes for a nice starting point if you wanted to get to this point and have your Firebase all connected. If you wanted to just save this to your GitHub, pull it down for the next PWA that you're going to create, all you have to do is basically just create that configuration file and just drop in Firebase. I create Firebase.js file. Firebase. Okay, so in here is where we're going to import our Firebase dependency from them. And just to save time, I'm going to get some errors, but I'm going to import my config from that Firebase config file that I just. You can see it's giving me linting errors because I've defined these imports, but I haven't used that. So. The next will be initializing Firebase. I'll pass in that there. And from here, I'm going to just export constant, which is the database. That's all that's going to go into this file. Just a way that we can kind of then share this database variable across different components. When we want to import it, we'll have the ability to pull that right in. Because not every view not every route within your app might need to talk to the database. So this is why I'm kind of like, so you can kind of use one. Everyone good so far, or do you questions or want me to slow down and wait or go back to?
Did you do your config file name right? From later.
Oh. Okay. So in here, I'm gonna just do an export default. Which will just then be my my Firebase configs. So I'm just going to grab everything from API key down to the last messenger send ID. Or pretty much. And this is something that I struggled with for a little while because it kept throwing me all these errors. Is LinkedIn doesn't like the use of single quotes for strings, but Firebase wants it. So I'm going to actually just do it ESLint disable here just for this file since this is all that's in it there. And this would be that file that I was talking about earlier where you can ignore this from your repository. That you could, share this and not have people Firebase.
What's on Firebase?
So like on the homepage, like when you first open it up, you need so that. So I jumped over into the Hello Vue component, which is basically rendering this here. I'm gonna just strip out everything up to the H1. That class is closing div tag. That's the root element that Vue's gonna want you to have. Save it. Everything kind of updates in real time. Not using Webpack in there, not reloading. And for my example, I was kind of thinking of, what would be the best way to kind of show how to accept data and then also show the data. So when I was learning Vue, one of the tutorials that I took was Chuck Norris app and Chuck Norris quotes. So I was going to do kind of something similar, but using Chuck Norris jokes, and found some of the ones that I thought were funniest. So I'm just going to do basically a form. The action's not going to go anywhere, and I'm going to actually add some Vue markup here. There's not going to be a ton of Vue markup, but this is kind of some of the things that you've probably seen. So all that's going to do is when the submit button gets clicked, this form isn't going to kind of make that because we're going to handle that issue. I have a one only input. I give it a name, call it jokes. I'm going to bind this to data within. Create another input, which will be this. And I'm going to also do another, and this is just kind of like a, probably overkill, you probably don't need to prevent this, it's on both parts, but and this is where we're going to add that method. Our post to database. Post. Now you kind of see I have my input, my chuck it button. So this is what this post joke will be the connection to Firebase, and we're like send data over there. I'm also going to create just an unordered list and render the database, whatever's in the database, with like kind of in an LI with the person. I have some Vue helpers installed in my code editor, and it'll tell you that it's looking for this bind directive over anything. It wants that key, but it knows everything. I'm going to just do joke.key, which is something that will come from Firebase every time you post something to the base. It's going to do it for you, which is a kind of helpful attribute of using. And then here, we'll just okay, so within this data object, so this is where I'm going to bind this model to this Chuck Norris. So just going to so next I'm going to create this method, which will be our post joke function that we want to. That's going to handle this buttons. Oh, I actually forgot one thing too. We created that this variable database, so we need to import that into our component. I'm just going to destructure the base variable.
Is there any particular reason why you put spaces between the curly brackets and the DB?
Not really. It's just kind of for easier to read. So yeah, I always kind of like to space things out. And it's just kind of like the linter too sometimes will give you trouble if you don't do things on how you have it set up. Yeah, I just thought it's kind of. So now that we have this database variable, start calling Firebase methods on it. So I'm going to use this ref method, which is just a reference. And then one thing with with Firebase is that everything's kind of like string based in like a JSON table. So you can call anything that's nested down in kind of almost like a URL pattern. So like we're going to be calling truck jokes, but if I wanted to go like a level deeper, I could then just / go to joke or whatever the route might be. But for this demo, we're just going to kind of keep it top level.
That would take you into another property?
Yeah, so I'll show you in a second. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, sure.
And then we're going to basically just push normal JavaScript here. I'm going to just kind of create an object. Basically like that, and that'll handle everything. It's going to create a table within our database called joke, or called Chuck Norris, and then like all the properties below it will be. So I don't have to actually go in and create any tables in the database I have done in the past if you're like this will just kind of like handle it for you as long as you know where you're pushing things or how you want to structure your data. So you kind of want to write that out ahead of time and really think that through, because you might end up with a database of data and then realize like, oh shoot, my table structure is all jacked up and almost everything. So just keep that in mind or thought when you're Firebase, how you're structuring all this data. And if you come from like a JavaScript experience, it's all very just JSON oriented, so it's not all that complicated.
So is essentially Firebase just giving you an empty object?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, it's just giving you an empty object that you're sending it to us. Yeah. And then I'm going to clear that input, just so when we post stuff, we'll know that it accepted it and then figure out that. We'll do a quick test run of some. So here, I put in a Chuck Norris joke, a couple of other people. Chuck Norris, here, fine. Sent it, nothing happened because we haven't actually pulled anything from the database just yet. But if I go into, well, actually, probably didn't work. Yeah, it didn't post anything, and that's out of the box. There's some rules that the database sets up. It wants you to be authentic. And you can do that all through Firebase as well. It'll handle all your authentication. It'll connect right to Google, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff. So that you can use those to authenticate your users. But here, we're going to clear out this auth null on both of these and just set it to true. You're not going to want to leave it at true, because then it just allows anybody to go in and post stuff to your database. Not going to save anything, and it's going to give me this warning. Right.
So, sorry, to save
Yeah.
it, you just hit publish, obviously.
Publish, yeah. So I post that again. Good. Which, yeah, so it created that Chuck Jokes table for me. It keyed that data and it just stored that object. So pretty quick, pretty easy. You can see how it kind of just nests it nicely for all your JSON. So next, we're going to start using VueFire. When we connected VueFire in this main.js that you use, it gives you this Firebase object, kind of like you method, the property. So in here, I'm gonna almost just use it like it's data object, because essentially it really is. So I'm just going to use that DB reference again. Just reference that table, and we'll so I wrong names here, just finding Chuck Norris here and Chuck Jokes. Cool. So you can see it's now pulling that whole object from where I am rendering this joke. Now I can just call joke. Okay. Really, that's it. I mean, that's we can easily just kind of like get set up. You have like a NoSQL real-time database. I'm going to create a new tab here. Put these apart, and this is like one of the cool things that I really like about using Firebase and having a real-time database is you can kind of I didn't have to refresh the on the right. It just that real-time database is just always it knows when something gets persisted, it's going to show it automatically. Using Vue and their like two-way binding, really nice to kind of like have that like real-time experience. And you might use this for like a really great use case would be like if you were doing like a chat app or something and you had people texting back and forth or messaging, kind of like using Slack or something. Store all that those conversations that happen in real time where people just see what's being posted. But since we're still running in kind of like development mode. If I go to my network, go offline, we'll have that like no internet, right? So here you'll see there's this kind of like this Serviceworker tab within your application panel, but there's nothing here. So one of the most powerful things about Vue PWA is it's going to write this for you. If you're not familiar with service workers, there's a lot that can kind of go into writing them and writing them the right way so that things aren't going to break and you're going to handle all the data caching in an efficient way. So in this, when you fire up this this template, you'll see in the JSON, the package JSON, it gives you this SW precache Webpack plugin, and that's basically what's going to write your service. If you wanted to modify what's getting cached, you can go into the Webpack build, which I'm not going to do here, but kind of show you where it is. Somewhere in here, there's that pre-cache module. Yeah, so right here, this is what's using that this plugin to kind of create the service worker, distribute it, and right now it's telling it to just find these files and cache them. So right out of the box, you're going to get your JavaScript, your HTML, and your CSS file. If you want to add other files, for the demo that I showed you, I was caching like my Google fonts so that the fonts would show up when people were offline. Images and stuff like that too. Have like all images kind of store within Serviceworker so that when people are offline, they're still able to see those. But yeah, so this is pretty powerful stuff right here. You can, if you want to mess with it, you can go on GitHub and kind of just look up the SW cache plugin. It'll give you documentation on it. So from here, I'm almost done. We're getting pretty close. I'm just going to run, build this server. Now I'm going to run npm run build. So this will build the app for production, and it'll also write that service work. So in here, when I ran that build command, it gave me this distribution folder, and you can see I wrote this service worker JavaScript file. It also minified and kind of hooked up all my HTML, like my manifest JSONs in there, and all my CSS files and JavaScript files that are in. And then it pulled that manifest JSON file from that static folder, kind of wrote it into this with all these other static assets that it created for us. So here, if you wanted to like view that distribution, you have to notice that it gives you this type like meant to be served over an HTTP server. So if you just went to the browser and tried to like get this file on an absolute URL, it's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is just use the built-in PHP server that's on most Macs. But there's a solution if you don't have PHP in your command line. So if you just run PHP serve, and then you can serve it over your local host and where you want. So. So you can see it pulled in that data. It's running. If I inspect this, now I have a service worker that's kind of running on the app. You can update it, sync it, unregister it. A little bit more of a dive or a deeper dive on service workers and PWAs we have time for, but just know that it's working here, and you can stop it if you want to like see what's getting cached and stuff and what's not, and understand that stuff. Then you also see here in my cache storage, this pre-cache is giving me all this stuff, which is my CSS file, my JavaScript, my vendor files and stuff like that. So yeah, all seems to be working. So if I was to go to the network, click this offline, still there, but the Firebase isn't working because we haven't hooked that up with our service. It's not something I'm going to go into today just because we don't have time, but I will show you that in my network, it's now kind of like going, hey, what the hell's going on? Why can't I connect? Firebase is like looking, but then there's no network for it to connect over. And this is kind of gives you that idea of what that real-time database is doing. So as soon as I click this offline, the next time Firebase tries to connect, it has like a timing setting in there. You'll see that this stuff will just kind of like come right back. Sometimes it takes, so that's kind of the nice thing of like when you're working with Firebase and like offline technology, it gives you that kind of like durable data. So like if you were to store stuff in your application and like next and wait, tell the service worker once there's a connection, just all that stuff over, it'll do that for you. Okay, so the last part, pretty cool. I'm going to run this. So in a new, I'm going to leave this server running so that I can tunnel it from my computer using ngrok. So what that's going to do. So now that if you install the ngrok with that npm and use the global, you get this ngrok command, and it'll kind of give you the helpful stuff. All we're going to do is just basically say, hey, tunnel whatever localhost port we want to serve. So I'm just going to say, 1,000. It's going to fire this up and kind of actually start serving it over SSL for us, which is nice and one of the requirements for PWA. So I can open this up, be able to view the app online, so I can share this with clients, or might want to review it if it's not, if you don't have it. See what you're actually building. It's not just for like mobile testing, but it allows you to also like, I could go on my phone to this URL, see the website, save it to my home screen, and get that kind of like app-like experience when if I want to just very basic testing. But I'm going to actually use the Xcode simulator. Allows me to view it. I mean, I can like post a new joke in here. The test, get updated here as well automatically. My database working again. But if you were to save this, your home screen. Drag over and just kind of like your bookmark. Add this to the home screen. It's going to ask me if I want to call it that name that we put in the manifest. Saves it. I now have this icon on my home. When I click this to open it, you'll see how it feels much more like a native application. Browsers. So that's really cool and one of the other requirements for Vue. That's actually all I have. So if you guys have any questions for me, I can answer now, or if you have anybody on Twitch that's following along or whatever.
You start out your credentials from the services file and throw it on GitHub?
Yeah, I'll post it to GitHub for you. I'll send you the link so that
we'll drop it in.
drop it in. Else?
Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with all of us. That was really cool. And thank you, Brooks, for streaming and recording. There will also be a video on YouTube that I will post to the meetup. And thank all of you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. Oh, you had one more announcement you wanted to make?
Yeah, just one job hunting thing. So, run Denver Vue Tech, come across a lot of people who are job hunting. So, I'm guessing everyone's heard about Hunter, which is kind of like a Kanban board for job hunting. But what do you do once you find a position you're interested in? So I wanted to show everyone Conspire. So Conspire will let you put in a specific company, so let's say Galvanize, and it will show you your connections across 4 different networks, LinkedIn, AngelList, I can't remember what the other 2 are, but it'll give you suggestions on good people to connect with. So who are you best connected with? So, hey Galvanize, I'd like to do an office tour. Since I already know someone there, like Jared, I could ask Jared to give me a tour of the office, and that'd be a good way to get into the company and get my face seen. If you don't have any direct connections, the nice thing about Conspire is it makes it really easy to generate an introduction email. So I can generate an email. Hey Ryan, it looks like you know Krista, and then you could put in a message here that says, my friend would like to tour your office. So then this will generate an email, and then he can basically forward it to Clay. So it makes it really quick to get contacts in at a specific company. Combine this with Hunter. I don't know how many of you have played with Hunter.
So the two like integrate somehow, or is there like?
So Hunter actually has a crappy version of Conspire built into it.
Can we only have the speaker talking? If you're talking around, can you step outside, please?
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so
are you related to Conspire or Hunter? Like, are you one of the developers, or what are you doing?
I don't really know anyone except Conspire got acquired by Full Contact. So I know a couple people at Full Contact. I'm not related to either of them. The nice thing about Hunter is you can share a job board. So you publish or you share a job board with a mentor.
What is the address for Hunter?
It's HUNTR, and it's a
.co.
Yeah, .co. So Hunter.co. I know that some of the Galvanize students had already kind of seen it, but it gives you a Kanban board to kind of job hunt. And it also has a Chrome extension that lets you kind of pull data out of a job post.
Hunter gives a server DNS address.
Maybe they're shutting it down. No, I got it. So no E in Hunter. So
No E.
yeah, I mean, I got it here. I don't know. Maybe try a refresh. So you go find a job post. Go to return path, type it up job, and the Hunter Chrome extension makes it really easy to kind of like suck up the data around the hiring. Go into the full description, you can go into the Chrome extension, and it will let you kind of identify chunks of information. So highlight the company name, return path, and it will automatically populate it. The job title, your Salesforce engine. Location, Denver. Okay. And then we can do the same thing for the job description. So now you have this nice posting. Post. And you can save it. I'm not job hunting, I just use it to kind of review other people's progress. So when you finally get in here, they have this leads thing, and you can search the directory, and they charge you for this. So look for someone, and then to get their contact information, charge you. I think it's like $10 or $15 a month or something. But instead of doing that, where you're just going to get cold email, go to Conspire and do the same thing, and find a contact there, and then send them out. So the other cool thing you can do in Notes, let's say I've got a little note here. I have someone who's helping me with my job hunt. I can go to this Conspire profile link, and this will be any, like if they sign up, it will show you the connections there. So you can ask them to look at Conspire and see if they have any questions. Maybe they know someone who's more well connected. That's another way to kind of get it. So you can skip their paid leads thing. Conspire is a free way to do it. Is that clear, or is everyone? Is that a cool little job hunting stack?
Yeah, thank you.
Conspire is free also.
Yeah. It kind of like, it goes into your email, so they get your data. But if you're all right with that, then
But you have to give them permission to our email? That's not very good.
I think it will give you something based off of your LinkedIn and the rest of it. LinkedIn, AngelList, and Twitter, but email is like a better way to find good indicators of people you actually talk to. So like, you might have 100 bullshit LinkedIn connections that don't really go anywhere, but emails are usually who will actually forward your email to someone. But I'm not sure. I just gave them my stuff because they already have all my stuff because I paid to use full contact. Yeah. If you want any other little job hunting hints, come talk to me.
Thank you. All right, and that's our meeting for today. So thank you all for coming, and go check out the Pitch Camp and New Tech Thunderclaps, and keep an eye on meetup.com for our happy hour next month. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to make this as close as possible.
How are you?
So it'll give you